3D printers are printing body parts. Robots are cleaning our homes. They're cooking our food, and they're starting to drive our cars. Soon you'll be able to use a flying car, actually. Yeah. Are you ready for the age of the Jetsons? At the control panel, producer extraordinaire, Jim Walsh.
How
you doing, Jim?
I'm doing the dog.
Yes, I love it. Elroy, right?
No, Elroy was the boy.
Oh, okay.
Astro
was the dog.
His original name, though, is Troufaz.
Really?
Yes.
How do you know so much about the Jetsons?
Well, they did a whole episode where the premise was that they found out that Astro had belonged to another family before they found him.
Okay.
And that his name was Troufaz.
Unbelievable.
A name that Astro did not care for at all.
Did you watch?
Raz, rock.
You obviously enjoyed the Jetsons.
Oh, yeah. Well, that came on when I was a little kid.
Sure. Is it hard to believe that we're actually kind of entering that age?
Yeah, we are becoming the Jetsons.
I don't think anybody would ever imagine that we would get to this point. But truly, we have robots that are cleaning our car or cleaning our homes.
Yeah.
I mean, I have robotic vacuum cleaners running around my house all the time.
Do they talk like Rosie the robot?
Not yet, but I wouldn't be surprised if sometime in the future you'll be able to use voice commands to run them, and she'll probably talk back.
Oh, I don't know, Mrs. J. I used to love Rosie.
So, yeah, it's pretty exciting times, actually. Yeah. And if you don't think that this is actually coming true, well, I have some news for you.
Well, do tell.
Yeah. So, of course, I was at CES recently.
Right.
And probably the biggest thing that you think about when it comes to technology and the Jetsons is the flying car.
Right.
I mean, they're jetting around all over the place all the time. Yeah. Exactly right. Yeah. So, there are two companies that are about ready to introduce basically drones that fly us around. So, they're basically flying cars. In fact, Airbus last Tuesday or Wednesday had stated that they're going to launch their flying car next year. So
next
year. So in 2018, you're going to see this, although they actually state that they'll be testing this at the end of 2017.
I think I'd kind of like to wait until they get the bugs out before I try one.
Well, and then you take it a step farther. I don't know if you've seen the photo of me by the E-Hang. Okay, that's the E-Hang 184. That's the model number.
Yeah.
And that particular model, they've had up in the air with a person over 200 times already.
Oh, good. Okay.
And no crashes to date.
I remember back in the 80s. Remember ultralights?
Oh, yes.
In the 80s?
Absolutely.
And one of the major networks did a big news thing on one of their news 60 Minutes. It was not that show specifically, but one of those type of shows, 2020 maybe.
Yep.
And they showed some guy crashing in his ultralight and getting killed. He crashed and burned. And, of course, it was a terrible thing. And I just keep having that little image running through my mind as I think about flying cars.
So there's actually, in the Bismarck-Mandan area, if you get out in the spring or summertime, occasionally you see a gentleman in the area that's flying around.
Oh, we have a local guy?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, I think it's cool all the time to see that. In fact, I was out flying drones one time with my grandson, and here he comes flying over the top of us, and of course he was all excited, my grandson was, because we thought maybe we could keep up with him with our drone, which I suppose we could have for a short period of time. But.
Well, I had a friend, a guy I went to school with, who was a pilot, and I sat down with him one day, and we talked about the ultralight thing, and I think I would assume this would apply to the drones as well.
Sure.
I said, well, Brian, what's the deal with these ultralight things? I saw that little horror story they did on TV. He says, well, really, it depends on the make and model. He said, there are some I wouldn't, take across the driveway.
Sure.
And there are some that I would trust with my life.
Yep. So, I'm sure it's the same thing. It'll be, well, I'm going to guess if we're going to get into flying cars that the manufacturers of these are going to be probably a little bit more reputable, and you're going to be buying these ready to go. I think a lot of the ultralights you could actually purchase as a kit.
Well, who's going to make that kind of makes me a little nervous. The idea that somebody at home is putting this thing together himself.
Right, and I think that's the ultralight thing is what I'm getting at there. I knew some people who actually put ultralights together, so I agree with you. I would have a problem with that, but in the flying car instance,
not a lot of margin for error there.
Right. But these are going to be full production models that you'll purchase, and the E-Hang actually, they're stating that they're going to come out at around that $15,000 mark.
Well, that's very affordable.
I think so too.
That's the price of a medium-sized car.
I know,
nowadays.
and the thing is that you fly autonomously, so
Right.
you don't have to have a pilot's license to fly these. You actually program the flying car with your phone. So just like GPS coordinates, stating that, hey, I want to go over to Jim's house, and it'll just fly me over to your place. The challenge that they have, though, so in rural settings, this isn't going to be a big deal, but of course in urban settings, you just don't get the opportunity to fly a drone that weighs more than 55 pounds over an urban area. So there are challenges here yet that they're going to have to work out with the FAA or what have you. Now, the Airbus one, the flying car Airbus, is actually going to be, they're actually going to offer that as a service to start. So like Uber or Lyft, you will actually summon up the flying car to come over and pick you up.
And what kind of commute are we talking? Is this long distance or short distance or medium?
It's basically urban, you know, so you're not going to be able to go, 30, 40, 50 miles with these things. But, if you need to go
across town. It's not like I can hop
town,
over to Fargo. Not yet.
No,
anyway.
not yet. Not yet.
Okay.
Although I don't see that as a barrier in the future. I actually, because the big thing here is that 400 or 500 foot ceiling, because right now drones can go to 400 feet.
Right.
Okay. In this area, in the North Dakota area, some areas you can go to 500 feet now.
Well, I could see, like maybe not quite New Salem, but like from one extreme end of Bismarck to the other of Mandan.
Oh yeah, yeah. And the thing is that if you don't have to deal with traffic. This particular one, the E-Hang, actually flies at 28 miles an hour. So you're not going to go fast anywhere.
As the crow flies, that...
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah,
that's 10 minutes for anywhere here in the Bismarck-Mandan
Let's see, now your office is on the west end of Mandan.
Right.
Let's say you want to go to Lincoln for some reason.
Yeah. I mean, that would normally be probably a half-hour trip, because, there's just no easy way to get to Lincoln. Just not any easy way at all. So you got to go through the city a little bit or whatever. A lot of stoplights, all this other stuff.
Yeah, around the airport and all that.
That's exactly right. But that's the other challenge you bring up here, right? Right. You won't be able to fly these around the airport.
Oh.
So you got to stay within 5 miles of the airport is a no. So that excludes a lot of the Bismarck-Mandan area.
What about Minot, where they have the Air Force Base?
Of course, the same thing applies. So
You're in danger of getting shot down.
I don't know. That's an interesting question, isn't it?
I'm totally serious.
Yeah.
I'm not being facetious.
I think as a security issue, they probably have the right of any vehicle that comes in, whether it's airborne or on the ground, that they can take whatever means necessary to stop it. I'm sure. So I don't think that excludes aircraft at all. So but it's exciting. And I think it's going to change the way that we think about travel, maybe even think about the way we buy vehicles in the future. Because, think about this. You go to a car lot, and I know we're pushing up against the clock here, but you go to a car lot, you're going to have a choice between probably in the very near future a standard vehicle, an autonomous vehicle, meaning one that will drive you around, of course, and, of course, you're going to have the choice of a flying car. So imagine the possibilities 10 years from now. I just think it's great. So after the break, we will continue our conversation on the age of the Jetsons. So come on back.
Right now, 30 degrees.
Here's Sean Hannity, weekday afternoons on Super Talk 1270.
Follow the Guru of Geek at Facebook.com/The Tech Ranch or Twitter at Guru of Geek or TheTechRanch.com. Here again is your Guru of Geek, Marlo Anderson.
And we want to thank everybody who follows us on the Blueberry Network.
Thank you.
We're also on the Tech Podcast Network. If it's tech, it's here. We're on Tuned In, iTunes, the Roku, Apple TV, and of course our own app, Radio Pup.
iTunes, YouTube, and everybody wants iTunes.
All kinds of places you can join the Tech Ranch either live or later on if you want to catch us in a rerun, you could say.
Yeah.
You can always catch us up. And on YouTube, of course, too. You guys post on YouTube as well.
Yes, we post on YouTube. The best way to get it is through the website.
Right.
supertalk1270.com.
Yep.
Assuming I'm not a month late in getting it up there, never mind.
Well, it happens, But
we had some glitches.
Did have some glitches
last year.
But we're getting things caught up and getting things caught up on the website as well.
At some point, we need to talk about how this new administration is going to affect the tech world.
Okay. Yeah, maybe we can do that for a show some week.
I understand that a lot of the software people had strong opinions about the new guy and what they think he may or may not do for them.
Now, are you talking about the president or the governor?
The president.
Okay.
Well, the governor is one of them.
Yes.
He's a tech guy.
Yes.
He's a software guy.
Yep. So I would expect, and we're in the state of North Dakota, of course. So those joining us that are not in the state of North Dakota, our new governor comes from Great Plains Software, which
is a billionaire who he developed a software company and sold it to Microsoft for $1 billion.
I believe it wasn't quite that much, but close.
Well, that's what somebody told me it was $1 billion.
I think it was $800 million actually. So and he was not the lone.
Yeah, well, it's a couple $100 million.
I know it.
Friends.
That's right. But he was also not the sole owner. He was just the majority owner. So
maybe the billion was before taxes.
Maybe so. So, but anyway, yeah, he did okay for himself here in North Dakota.
Wikipedia said he sold it for $1 billion.
Okay.
How reliable is Wikipedia? Well, it can be less than reliable sometimes.
Hey, we should go in there and manipulate the data in Wikipedia sometime.
Yeah, let's get creative with. What's the term they came up with over the weekend for the truth?
I didn't hear this.
What's her name? Kellyanne Conway.
Okay.
She said they were talking about the attendance at the inaugural. What was the term they used? It was basically it was a BS term for lying. I'll look it up.
Okay, that sounds good. So anyway, we are talking about the age of the Jetsons that we are about ready to enter here. And we were just talking about flying cars a little bit ago. And again, you will have a choice in a very, very short period of time to be able to choose a regular car, an autonomous car, and probably a flying car when you go to your car dealership sometime in the future. And speaking of which, we're streaming on Facebook Live today, everybody. So if you want to get a look at what the studio looks like, what Jim and I are doing in the studio here, you can always just join us at Facebook Live. Doug actually asked, what's a couple 100 million? So I guess he kind of falls right in the same train of thinking as you there, Jim. So yeah, we're talking about flying cars, and of course, there's all kinds of other things that are going on besides that.
Alternative facts, that's what they're calling
okay,
it.
yes. Well, that sounds like lying to me. I don't know.
They talk about your,
Yes. But it I have to say it goes on both sides. Nobody knows anymore, and that's what's crazy about this, right?
Yeah.
Nobody knows if the photos are doctored or not.
Oh, my God.
I mean, I've seen photos, talking about the inauguration of the crowd that went all the way back to the Washington Monument.
Right.
I mean, as far back as you can see. Then the next one I see, they talk about there's like nobody there. I mean, of course, you can add people. You can take people away. I mean, you can do all kinds of stuff. So who knows?
I mean, you can post any photo you want and say anything you want about
Absolutely.
it.
Or you can time the photo. You can take a photo from the day before and post it up and say, hey, this is going on, or it could have been from an event 2 years ago.
Yeah, alternate facts.
Who knows?
Fake news.
So yeah, the flying car thing, too, is interesting as far as the delivery of goods. And I'm looking at in fact, I'll show this up on the Facebook Live stuff right now. So this is kind of a mock-up here of what they call skyways, which a person might be familiar with. I'll show that to you there, Jim, too. And what they're thinking about doing is the challenge that they have in urban areas is that you can't just fly a drone that's 55 pounds or heavier over an urban area. So they're thinking about developing a system of skyways in larger urban areas. So think Las Vegas, New York, or whatever. And you would fly in these skyways, which are basically enclosed tubes from point A to point B. And then, of course, you could, if you wanted to move stuff over to a ship or whatever as well with goods, you could do that through these skyways as well. So that's one case scenario that they'll be able to use with that. So some other things, 3D printing. So I know we talk about this a lot, Jim, but what do you are you pretty impressed with where 3D printing is going?
I love the idea. I love the concept. The idea that if you need a part for something like, let's say there's a part in your dryer that needs to be replaced.
Okay.
And instead of having to go out and go to the store to get it, if you have the equipment at home, you can actually print it out for yourself.
So that's kind of what's going to be going on, actually. So
I never have to leave the house.
Right. I mean, you think about this, and of course, well, maybe even food sometime in the future will be this way too, but you might be able to, instead of even hopping online and ordering something from Amazon or eBay or whatever, you will buy the plans You will buy the schematic, you'll buy whatever you want to call it,
Yeah.
the 3D image, and then you'll download that, and then in a half hour, an hour, you'll have it at your home because you
Wow.
just printed it
Yeah.
out as opposed to having it shipped to you. There's a lot of potential with
Yeah.
that, just a ton of potential. And then, of course, we always go to the medical side of things right away, and the ability to print organs when you need a new heart or
Yeah.
you need a new liver or whatever. They will actually use your own DNA and create these organs.
Yeah.
I mean, you think about that, and you think about the ability. The longevity issue, I think, is probably the biggest thing here.
Mm-hmm.
The ability to just go in and basically replace whatever you need to.
Let's say your
in
kid
body.
loses his retainer. He has braces and he's got
Yeah.
a retainer. You lose the retainer's made of what? Plastic.
Yeah.
And if you lose it, if you have got the arrangement, you could probably just print one
it.
out, so to speak.
That's true. I mean, there's all kinds of great applications when it comes to medical. Your eyeglasses.
Yeah.
Might be another thing, but who knows? In the future, we may not even need eyeglasses anymore. I mean,
Yeah.
things are just so crazy when it comes to medical right now. Another thing would be the nanites. We talk about nanites a lot.
Yeah.
And these are actual miniature robots,
Little tiny guys.
very, very, very small, that they inject into your bloodstream.
Mm-hmm.
And when that happens, these nanites can actually search out disease, can actually communicate with your device.
Yeah.
So some of these nanites have Bluetooth technology built into them.
They can talk to you in your Bluetooth?
Yeah. Well, actually, to your phone. Yeah, but that would be interesting if they could
Yeah.
talk to your Bluetooth headpiece, right?
Hey,
hey,
your cholesterol is a little high
yeah.
down here.
Hey, you should get in and see the doctor. Your ticker is about ready to
Yeah,
go.
you got a kidney stone developing here, pal. You ought to see it. Oh,
That's
you will
pretty
see
funny.
it.
That's pretty funny, actually.
You'll feel
but,
it.
But it'll actually communicate this stuff to your phone. So that's the goal. And there's another device called Scanadu that I've been following for a couple of years.
Scanadu.
I agree. I always think of Xanadu when I think of Scanadu. So
Yeah, get Olivia to sing this
that's
song.
right. And anyway, they are actually coming up with a device that looks like a tricorder out of Star Trek.
Cool.
And I've actually seen this the last couple of times and at CES. This device, they claim within a year or two that they will be able to tell you when you're about 2 weeks out from having a heart attack.
Whoa.
And it will communicate that to your phone. So you'll scan your body. You buy this personally. You actually will have this. And they'll tell you that, hey, you should probably get to the doctor. You're about ready to have a heart attack.
Get to the doctor
Isn't that something?
and tell him to do this, 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 and this.
It really is something. It really is. So it's exciting times when it comes to that. Of
Be
course,
amazing.
I think about the ability for like hip replacements, those type of things too. Instead of, because what happens now when you go in?
Well, my wife had her knees replaced
Okay.
about a year and a half ago.
Well, then you're very familiar with this process,
indeed
right?
we are.
So when she had her knees replaced, I would imagine she had to, or the doctor, with the help of you, the two of you, probably chose like the best size that would fit, right? I mean, you have a variety of different sizes that are pre-manufactured.
Well, I mean, that was between my wife and the doctor, more or less.
Okay.
I mean, I was along for the ride, but we were not in a position where we were shopping around.
Right.
Basically, we went to the doctor. The doctor said, "This is what I want to do," and we said, "Okay."
But the doctor probably has a choice of maybe 4, 5, 6 different sizes.
Oh, yeah,
Right?
yeah.
And then they have to kind of force that to fit to your body structure. Imagine the ability in the very near future when they scan your knee, they scan your hip, and they make an exact replica
Sure.
of what you have. So you don't have to worry about them trying to figure out a way to fit this into, your current structure.
Yeah.
That it's going to be exactly what they took out, So that's pretty exciting stuff when you think
Very
about it.
exciting stuff.
So, and the other thing is that, we looked at, there was somebody at CES that had lost a limb, had lost an arm.
Sure.
And then they had printed a 3D arm. And what's crazy
I've
about
seen those,
this,
yeah.
yes, what's crazy about this, in fact, I'm trying to remember the athlete that's involved with that. There's an athlete that actually visits hospitals, and the cost of a regular prosthetic compared to these 3D printed ones it's like a fraction of the cost. It's crazy the difference in price.
Well, what's really exciting to me is they're developing prosthetics, and this may be down the road a piece, but they're developing prosthetics that will they can actually connect into your system.
That's exactly where I was
going
going
with this. You will
with
actually
this.
feel sensation. You will actually be able to feel pain and touch and whatever.
Yep, and that's exactly what I was looking at when we were there. Is that this person was actually able to manipulate their fingers just by thought, just like you would normally right now.
Amazing.
It is amazing. I looked at that and it's hard to imagine that something that is not part of you that you can actually move and do whatever with. So it's pretty amazing stuff. So 3D printing is revolutionizing the way that that we look at medical things here in the future. It really is. And I think we're just talking about it's Monday, Jim, and my mind's all over the place.
What about organs?
Well, yeah, that's exactly right. So imagine livers and hearts and all this other eyes possible. That's why I was talking about maybe we won't need glasses in the future because we'll just have new eyes.
Yeah.
Or new
bionic
corneas
eyes or whatever.
Who knows? The world is kind of our oyster when it comes to these type of things because there's so much possibility with 3D printing. So anyway, I guess we're kind of going long on the 3D printing thing, but it's hard to. The impact is so profound.
It is. It's hard not to get revved up.
It is.
This.
It really is.
It really is.
But we will be talking about other things about the age of the Jetsons after the break.
Right now, 30 degrees.
Dave Ramsey is heard here. Super Talk 1270.
We're back to the Tech Ranch. Stream this program now at supertalk1270.com. Here is your guru of geek, Marlo Anderson.
And we're talking about the age of the Jetsons. Are you ready to live in that age?
Jane, stop this crazy thing.
That's exactly where we're at the control panel. Producer extraordinaire Jim Walsh. How was your weekend, man?
It's not too shabby. I understand there was something going on in Washington over the weekend.
I think so. I'm not really sure, though.
It,
there was some small thing, I think. So, yeah.
Yeah.
So we're talking about the age of the Jetsons.
And they had the marches around the country.
They had a couple marches. I noticed that there was some here. They were all over the place, actually. Yeah. Big one in Chicago.
And that's cool. So. People expressing their opinions. Democracy in action. I'm cool with that.
That's what it's all about. Yeah. So, we're going to talk about, we're going to get off the Jetsons just for a second here.
Yeah.
I just thought this was interesting. The Oscar for the worst password in 2016.
Okay.
So, the worst password. So, what do you think, of all the passwords that are out there? And, of course, it's getting more and more difficult. You just can't use the word password anymore when you try to type things in. So, people come up with creative ways. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So, what do you think the worst password of 2016
Probably
is?
the worst password of the last year?
Yes, in 2016.
Are we talking a trendy term or?
Maybe, but it's something pretty common. I'll put it that way.
Is it bigger than a bread? No. Something pretty common. I don't know. Password computer. I don't.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Oh.
That is the one who gets the Oscar, and there's variations of that, of course. I mean, there's the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Yeah.
And then, of course, there's the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I mean, there's all kinds of great variations of that. But
a lot of people have like names of their pets or whatever, and that's okay.
And to do variations of that is great. Running up the top 5 were 1, 2, 3, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and football.
Yeah.
The word football made the top 5 this year for passwords that you probably don't want to use.
Yeah.
The rest of the list is littered with variations of the top 2, including password, where they changed the 0 to an O. So that's one of the, and that was actually number 1 last year.
Never figured that one out.
Yep. And then, of course, the other one that's on the list is password and then the number 1.
Right.
So just to get by the security check on those things. So, if you were to, and this is what's crazy about this, and I'm going to get on a rant here a little bit about passwords, Jim, but they, especially on your routers and stuff, not just on your devices and on your, when you're logging into your bank and everything else, there's probably about 50% of the routers that are out there right now. I could drive up and down the street here and get into internet on people's routers because they don't change them from the default passwords.
Oh,
it comes in and there's
that's
only
not good.
There's only a couple of them, so it's easy to hack into a business, into a home or whatever. And there's so many other ways that the other things that people don't change, like if you got a baby monitor. or a webcam that you have in your house. Nobody changes the default passwords to any of this stuff. So anybody like you and I could hack into this stuff. If I can figure out the IP address of that webcam, bang, I'm watching the webcam on the internet, and I can share it with anybody I want to. And it's scary stuff. It really is. So always change your passwords. At least get away from the default one.
At the very least, and try not to make it something too obvious.
Right. I mean, no, just use something that maybe personally, and change the characters up a little bit. Throw a couple numbers in there, or capitalize a couple letters, put some punctuation into it. Just vary it up a little bit. So but anyway, so the Oscar for the worst password of 2016 is 123456. So if you're using that password right now, you might want to change it because that's the first one that the hackers are going to go after. That's for sure. So on top of that. Do you use Windows 10 on anything yet?
I think we have it at home. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I think.
So believe it or not, it's time to upgrade those Windows 10 version 1507 machines. Now that might sound a little complicated, but if you were one of those who had Windows 8 and you got the free upgrade, to Windows 10, then you have the support for that ends at the end of this month. As crazy as that is, even though Windows 10 is still out there, this particular version of Windows will end at the end of this month. So you need to decide.
The end of January. Well, it's already the 23rd.
I know.
We got like a week and a day.
It's not a lot of time. So if you're going to January 26th is actually the original or the date that it will end. So it's kind of crazy actually. So you have to decide if you want support for Windows 10. And you want the updates for Windows 10, you have to upgrade that original Windows 10 if you had a Windows 8 machine that you upgraded or you bought a very early version of Windows 10. There are all kinds of other versions since then.
Right.
Because they're always upgrading and doing all this other stuff. So make sure that you get out there and get that upgraded because you may have some problems in the future with some security issues or whatever if you don't upgrade that. So just kind of a word of warning to everybody. Google Maps will soon help you park. Do you use Google Maps at all?
Yes, I do.
And
when I need directions, I use it a lot.
Okay. And so you're a fan of Google Maps.
Yes.
And it's great. I love it, too. I see Charlie Francis is joining us right now. I'm going to shout out to him. Yeah. He actually works for Here, which used to be a Verizon company, or Nokia company, excuse me. Charlie's going to lash out at me here, but they're very big into mapping too. That's what they do. So, and in fact, I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of what Google has is some Here products. I should talk to them about that sometime. But anyway, so Google will soon have a new feature that uses easy, medium, and limited descriptions to let users know the parking situation at their destination. So if you're going to a ball game,
right,
and it's getting close to game time, it's probably going to tell you that you're going to have a hard time parking in the parking lot or shopping malls or what have you. So that's kind of a cool new upgrade, I guess, that will be coming down with that. Let's see. Other news. Amazon self-driving delivery trucks. Now, they haven't come out and actually stated that they are going to have a drive or delivery truck that's autonomous. However, they filed for a patent for it. So, of course, people are thinking now that Amazon's going to have some type of delivery truck that will be autonomous, that will be running around delivering our packages, which is interesting, too, I think. I'm not quite sure how that goes. How do you get it from the truck to the door unless there's some type of robot that's involved here, too.
A robot arm that comes out and rings your doorbell.
Maybe. I mean, who knows? That's interesting.
Sounds like Looney Tunes, but it could happen.
Yes, absolutely. So that I think is interesting. And something to watch, I guess. Let's see. Any other news on my little list here of things before we get back?
He has a little list.
I do have a list. I was so crazy busy this morning, I didn't really get a chance to...
Well, you were telling me you had issues this morning.
We did have issues, and it's amazing when your technology goes down, how it impacts you. And, it used to be when the internet went down at your business or at your home or whatever, it only impacted the internet. Basically, your ability to get online And whether you're streaming a video or you're looking stuff up or whatever you're doing, right?
Minor inconvenience.
Yes, it's just a minor. But now, I mean, the internet's attached to our phone system at work. So, of course, our phones didn't work when the internet was down. We can't run a credit card anymore when the internet's down. So last week, was it last week when Mid-Continent was down in a large part of our network here?
Right.
That really was, you think about how many people that impacted as far as the ability to not even be able to process credit cards or what have you. That's a pretty big deal.
Well, remember we talked a couple of weeks ago, it was a couple of months ago, about Ted Koppel's book about the terrorist threat to the infrastructure if they can knock out our electrical system, or our power grids, and all of a sudden people are back living like they lived, in the early 1800s, with all the disastrous implications there. What about the internet? Can something similar happen if somebody can knock out the internet? If they can just, maybe explode a nuke over a city and fry the entire internet system, what would be the result for society at large?
So I think the internet, this is going to test my memory a little bit here, Jim, but the original workings about the internet was the fact that if we ever had an ECP, or EMP, thank you, that would explode and have an electric magnetic discharge. And generally what happens with an EMP is that anything that's got wires in it, it basically makes the wires useless.
Anything more sophisticated than the steam engine is pretty much put out of commission.
Right. That's exactly right. So the idea behind the internet in its earliest form was a form of communication basically for military, so that they were able to communicate even though everything else didn't work.
It was like a stopgap against that.
Yes, that's exactly what it was.
I didn't know that.
And then as it progressed, we're going back to the
Cold War.
Yeah. I mean, we're back to the late 60s, I think, when they started working on this stuff. And then, of course, there were a lot of modifications to that infrastructure. But basically, most of the internet nowadays is fiber and underground. So I would say that of all the things that we have out there, the internet would actually survive that particular thing. Now, of course, you need power and all that other stuff.
You need electricity to run it.
That's the other challenge.
Batteries, whatever.
Yes. So that's the thing that you'd have to work through. But generally, the infrastructure would be okay.
I still would love to devote a whole show to that sometime.
Yeah, we'll have to talk about that
because there is some very interesting literature on the subject out there that I think a lot of people should read. At least know what the threats are.
Sure, that's a good idea. Actually, now you've come up with 2 show ideas here in the matter of the last half hour. That's a good thing. So yeah. I forget where we're at now, where we're going to, but Amazon, where were we at there,
Have
Jim?
some more coffee, Marlo.
Maybe I should have
a lot more coffee. It helps me.
Maybe we should just go to break, and then we'll get into the Roku after the break. I have a bunch of cool tips, by the way.
Oh, good.
On how to maximize your cord cutting experience. So you use a Roku, right?
Yes.
Okay. So I have, of course, I think I might even have a dozen of them laying around now. Who knows? But love the Roku.
Yeah.
It's a great product. So if you're looking at a way to maybe save a few dollars or whatever from the cost of cable, Roku is a great way to go. So we'll talk about that after the break, everybody.
Right now, 30 degrees.
On Twitter, Facebook, online, and YouTube. SuperTalk1270.com.
Follow the Guru of Geek everywhere he goes. Post your comments or questions at thetechranch.com. Once again, your Guru of Geek, Marlo Anderson.
Hello! It's about time the tech geezer shows up.
Hey, what time is it?
It's nap time.
Oh, okay.
Go find your corner there, tech geezer. That would be another great show, by the way.
Oh, yeah. Just nothing but the tech geezer for an hour. Just sitting here staring back at you. How you doing?
We'd have to give him some caffeine to keep him going. I think. Yeah.
Not too much, though.
Yeah. So we're talking about the age of the Jetsons. We went through flying cars a little bit earlier, 3D printing. We went through the password, the Oscars for the worst password of the year. So, and I've been wanting to get to the Roku for a while because we talk about the Roku a lot.
Yeah.
And basically the Roku is called an over-the-top device. You hook it up to your television, and instead of getting your TV through cable or an antenna, it actually comes through the internet.
Yeah.
That's basically the best way to describe it. There's a couple thousand channels on there right now. I'd say,
Yeah, we know folks. No, we don't have. You're asking if I had it. I don't have it myself, but
okay.
I know people who do have it.
Sure, okay. And, I'd say easily 50% of the channels on there are free. It might even be closer to 75 or 80.
Yeah.
It's amazing how many channels are for free. But if you want, HBO, or if you want Showtime or whatever, you can subscribe to those. I subscribe to Hulu and to Netflix. So I spend $18 a month for basically all the movies and TV that I can handle, which is probably, and that's a lot. I mean, there's a lot of viewing on there. Of course, you get your weather and whatever else, and there's other things that are, besides those thousands of channels. There's a lot of companies, a lot of people who create Roku channels that don't actually get approved by Roku, so they're not in the approved list. But the channel's still out there. So these are the hidden channels of Roku, and there's actually a list. In fact, if you do a Google search for Roku Guide, you would actually be able to find the secret channels that are out there.
What kind of things are we talking about? What kind of channels are we talking
about?
About
anything you
like
can imagine.
Public access
Yeah,
stuff?
yeah. And there's probably, a lot of religious, a lot of churches and that type of thing
there is, sure.
that don't go through the whole process of getting an approved Roku channel. But because it's a limited thing, they just let their audience, their church know that you can go get this, and if you can't make it in on Sunday or whatever, you can still watch us on your Roku. I mean, Yeah, and
like having the Sunday Mass on TV.
That's exactly
my
right.
dad, if he can't get out on the weekends, he just watches it.
That's exactly right. But not a lot of churches have the ability, if it's on cable or whatever.
Yeah.
Not everybody's on there, of course. So,
although you'd be surprised, a lot of the newer churches, especially, are getting into that.
They really are.
Yeah.
They really are. Absolutely.
It's a generational thing. The younger generation is embracing that kind of thing.
Yep. So, the Roku Guide. If you do a Google search, you can find that.
Yeah.
And it's easy to add a channel, even on there. You'll just basically, after you add it, you'll be taken to the Roku page to add that secret channel.
Right.
So, and there's all kinds of crazy channels that are on there that you normally wouldn't get. So, fewer clicks as the Roku goes. The one thing about the Roku remote too is that there's only like a half a dozen buttons on it.
Oh.
So they're directional buttons usually, then a couple OK buttons on there. So it's
I like
actually
that.
pretty easy to run.
Yeah.
And the newer versions, you just talk to it. So if you want to go to Netflix, you just say Netflix to the remote,
nice.
and it takes you over there to it. So
Because I've got my current remote control is like something you would have for NASA.
it's crazy how many buttons are on some of these remotes. So,
half of them, I don't know what the hell they are.
Yes, exactly right. So yeah, it's pretty cool that they have this that easy to use. And the other thing that's interesting about the Roku is that there's an app for your phone.
Yeah.
So you put the app on your phone, and then that's the remote control, and you have a lot more opportunity to do more things with it. So if you want to do a search for a particular movie, for example, it'll let you search through all of the channels that are on there. So maybe Hulu has it, but Amazon isn't on there because they're a competitor. But maybe Netflix has that movie, but Hulu doesn't. So you can just type that or say that movie into that app, and then it'll search through everything.
Yeah.
And it'll show you the difference, if there's cost to it, if it's free, if it's whatever on the different channels. So that's pretty cool, I think. So I would certainly, if you have a Roku, go get the app and play with that a little bit. You might actually find that it's a little easier to use. So
what's the name of it?
Just the Roku app. If you type
how do you spell that?
ROKU.
Gotcha.
So very, very easy. Roku. I believe it means 6 in Japanese. Is what
You're
Roku
right.
is.
That's what.
Is that? Am I right?
Ichi-ni-si-san go Roku.
Really?
Yeah. That's as high as I can count in Japanese. But
the founder of the Roku, this was his 6th patent.
Bingo.
And that's where the name came from. So I think at one time, I'm trying to remember what network he was with, but he was in this industry, in the television industry, and then went to and developed this thing. So it's pretty cool.
I'm thinking for some reason Sony sticks out in my head.
Maybe.
Was he a Sony guy?
Might have been. Yeah, absolutely. The other thing that's really cool, it's called Mirror Mirror. You can send whatever is on your Android or iOS device to the big screen.
Yeah.
So if you have a presentation that you need to make,
like a
PowerPoint.
PowerPoint.
Yeah. You could actually, if you want to get really creative, and so the Roku, one of them it looks like a dongle. Like the jump drives. You can just plug it into the HDMI port of your television. So you could just take that with you if you're doing PowerPoints, for example, and then you can just show the PowerPoint that you're doing from your phone right to the big screen.
Yeah, last year when I did my PowerPoint for my master's thesis,
Okay.
Put it on a little flash drive.
Right.
That would be even better.
Well, it would be
bringing like if they had a TV there, I could put it on the TV.
Right, and then what you do then is you just use your finger and then just kind of just move through your slides. But of course, if there's video that you want to watch, or if maybe there's a game, maybe you're playing Angry Birds, and you don't want to play it on the little screen. You still play it on the little screen, but you can watch it on the big screen up there.
Big old giant Angry Birds.
Exactly. So that would be kind of cool with the mirror features. So in your neighborhood. Cutting the cord doesn't have to mean, cutting yourself off from all the TV. So the number one thing that I get when I talk to people about cutting the cord is that they want their local news. They want the local stuff, right? Well, there's actually a way that you can do that, and it's a channel that you can add. All these channels you just add a la carte, by the way. You don't have the thousands and thousands. You go through them and you say, I want this one, I want this one. So you don't have to go through all the ones that you don't want.
They don't prepackage them and tell you have to have this.
Absolutely nothing
I love
prepackaged.
that.
It's just $0 from the
I
from
love
the
the
start.
a la carte.
Yeah, it's great.
Fascinating.
But there's one of the channels is called News On, and News On actually gives access to local news broadcasts from outlets nationwide. So if you want the local news, you can actually get that through News On. And then the other thing is if you like local weather, like the Weather Channel, whatever, they have their own channel. Weather Underground is another one. And I forget the other one. There's a third one that we use, On Weather, I think it's called, something like that, that we have streaming at our office all the time. So if you want weather, you can always have that. You can get the radar, the local radar up on your television through this. So it's really, really great for that stuff. And of course, if some other things, one of the other bigger things I think that I hear a lot about, especially this time of year, is that you can't watch football, and that is a challenge. The NFL hasn't come out with a package yet for the Roku, so that's a challenge. But on the other side of that, Major League Baseball has come out with a package, $65 for the whole year.
That's very reasonable.
I think it's like 160 to 180 through any other network, but you're buying the stuff. See, that's what's interesting about this is that when
you want to watch the Twins, 3 or 4 games, it's paid for itself.
I know it's actually a pretty good deal.
Yeah,
and you have all of the games. It's not just the Twins. I mean, you can grab whatever you want to.
I want to watch the Phillies or whatever.
Whatever you want to watch.
Wonderful.
It's actually a pretty
Baltimore
good deal.
Orioles,
and the NHL is also on there now. So I would imagine sometime in the future. I mean, I know there's a lot more money in football, so that's going to be a little bit more of a challenge.
Football is the big one, yeah.
Football is the big one, but they do have those. And then you're starting to see things like CBS, NBC, the CW. In fact, all of the CW shows now, like The Flash and Supergirl, I'm just reading through my notes here, you get the last five episodes for free. Right. So which is kind of cool. Yeah. CBS is coming out with their new Star Trek series, Discovery.
Yes.
And the first episode will be on CBS.
My wife and I are heavy-duty Trekkies.
You're going to love this. Yeah. The following episodes are available streaming only.
Oh.
You have to have the CBS channel on your Roku or your Apple TV or what have you. I know. It's kind of a sneaky thing that they're doing.
Diabolical.
And I'm not sure how much it's going to... I need to find that out. I don't know if it's like an $8 a month fee to have CBS or what they're going to do. But
that's usually would drive something new like that.
Yes.
When you have a new technology or sub-technology, you have to have something that people are excited about that makes them want to go out and buy this thing just so they can... it's like, Milton Berle dressing like a lady made everybody want to go out and get a TV in 1951.
That's exactly right. Yeah. And I'm sure that's what they're looking at here, that, the people, the early adapters to probably cutting the cord are people who are Trekkies, for example, right? I mean, most people who are Star Trek people are generally involved in some type of technology or think about that. I mean,
or they're very savvy about it.
It just seems to be a natural progression of things,
It is. They're nerds.
Yeah, I guess that's the way to say it. That's exactly right. Exactly right. So I think that there's some great things that you can do with cord cutting. Get yourself a Roku. They're cheap. You can get them for $29.
Oh, that's not bad.
And you can spend $130 on them too. It just depends on the model that you need.
Hey, think of how many ways you'd blow the money anyway in a month's time.
If you spent $60 on the middle of the line model that they have, right? That is one movie one movie when you throw the popcorn and stuff in there. So it really is pretty reasonable, and I highly encourage anybody to go get a Roku. And if you're an Apple TV person, that's okay too. Apple TV is great. The Chromecast from Google is great too. There's
none of this is a commercial, by the way.
No, it's not. It's just a nice alternative to having some choices on your
personal
television.
recommendations.
So, yeah, absolutely. So, Jim, pleasure as always.
Likewise.
Thanks, everybody. Have a great week.
Thank you.